She always played with her ring when she lied. But that day, she didn't just play with it. She spun it around to hide the diamond. He walked past our table like it was nothing. No pause, no nod, no acknowledgement. Just brushed by with that smug little half-smile he always wore, the one I used to think was just how his face looked. But now I know better. I watched her thumb glide over the band, twisting it backwards until the stone was facing her palm. Like she was ashamed to be married. Or worse, hiding that she was. I didn't say anything right away. I just sat there, chewing the inside of my cheek while she sipped her overpriced green tea and checked her phone twice every minute. The waitress came by, asked if we were ready to order. Jenna smiled politely and said, "Just a bit longer. Waiting for a friend." I wasn't the friend. I was the husband. She didn't even flinch saying it. Waiting for a friend. Like I was invisible. Like I hadn't spent the whole morning doing her laundry, fixing the bathroom sink, and driving 30 minutes to surprise her on her lunch break. I almost laughed. I almost laughed because it was so absurd. But instead, I just looked at her. Really looked. And I realized she was wearing lipstick she never wore around me. The necklace I'd never seen before. Her hair styled in a way she only used to do for events. This wasn't lunch. This was a date. And I was the backup plan who showed up too early. I asked quietly, "Do you want me to leave?" She blinked. The question caught her off guard. Then, like she was brushing a leaf off her shoulder, she said gently, "No. That's it. Just no." Like everything was fine. Like I was being dramatic. Like I was imagining the tension crawling up my spine. I smiled through it. Through the humiliation. Through the taste of blood in my mouth from biting my tongue too hard. I got up, and I walked out of that cafe. But what she didn't know was that I left behind more than a half-finished drink. I left behind the illusion that I didn't know. Because by then, I'd already hired the private investigator. And what he was about to send me would destroy whatever was left of the man she thought I was. I didn't go home. I couldn't. My hands were shaking so bad I had to pull over just 3 blocks away. I parked under some dead tree in a strip mall parking lot and just sat there, staring at the cracks in my windshield like they were somehow more stable than my marriage. My phone buzzed. One new message. No name, just a number I'd saved as Red Hawk. That's what the investigator called himself. A weird name, sure, but I didn't care as long as he delivered what he promised. Answers. Truth. And if I'm being honest, maybe a little bit of punishment. I didn't want revenge, not yet. I just wanted to stop feeling like I was going insane. I opened the message. One photo, then a second, then a short video. The first image was blurry, taken from across the street, but unmistakable. Jenna. Same necklace. Same dress. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. She was looking at him. The guy from the cafe. The one she didn't even acknowledge in front of me. The second image? Them holding hands. Not across the table. Under it. And the video? It was 15 seconds. Just enough to make my stomach turn. They were at a gas station. He leaned over the hood of her car while she stood by the driver's door. They weren't kissing. But the way she looked at him, it wasn't casual. It wasn't playful. It was devoted. I hadn't seen her look at me like that since the first year of our marriage. The way she reached out and fixed his collar, smoothing it down. That simple gesture hurt more than if I'd caught them in bed. You don't fix the collar of a man you just met. You don't hide your ring from a man you're not invested in. You don't lie to your husband for weeks over someone who means nothing. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just whispered, "Okay." Like I was negotiating with God, with reality, with my own disbelief. But here's where it really got strange. The investigator's message didn't stop there. "I've ID'd the man. You're not going to believe this. Check the next file." I tapped. Opened the attached document. His name was Theo, apparently. Age 42. Divorced. No kids. No job listed. But one detail at the bottom made my skin go cold. Theo Avery, former therapist. License suspended. I blinked, unsure if I was reading that right. I zoomed in. Read it again. Former therapist. Wait, was this the same Theo she once mentioned in passing? The guy who used to run that emotional resilience group she went to for a few months after her mother died? No way. But in the next message, Red Hawk confirmed it. They met in grief support. He was her counselor. Crossing boundaries. It started there. I dropped my phone, right onto the floor mat. And suddenly the oatmeal, the distant glances, the hidden texts, they weren't just symptoms of a cold marriage. They were the result of manipulation. He inserted himself into her vulnerable place, and she let him stay. And me? I was the oblivious husband she came home to. The one who thought love and patience could fix everything. But now, I was seeing the rot underneath the surface. And it wasn't just about cheating. It was about grooming, control, secrets. And I was going to rip every one of them into the light. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside her, the woman I had loved through flu seasons and funerals and forgotten birthdays, and stared at the ceiling while she slept like nothing was wrong. Like her whole life wasn't unraveling right beside her. She murmured something in her sleep, some half-syllable name I couldn't quite catch. I told myself it wasn't Theo. But my gut already knew. You always know. You just don't want to admit it. By 6 a.m., I was in the garage, sorting through old boxes like a man digging up a grave. I didn't even know what I was looking for, just something. Something to confirm that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't just imagined the subtle rewrites of our history. And then I found it. An old shoebox taped shut. Her handwriting across the top in black Sharpie. Private, don't touch, seriously. She used to label everything like that. It was her quirky way of making boundaries sound cute. But I wasn't smiling when I opened it. Inside were letters. Real, physical letters. Folded papers, yellowing slightly. Not from him, but to him. Jenna had written to Theo. Dozens of pages, maybe more. Not emails. Not texts. These were emotions etched in ink. Some of them were dated before we were even married. One started with, Theo, I don't know what this is, but I feel it when you speak. Like you know the parts of me no one else can even name. Another, Everett is sweet, but I feel like I'm performing. With you, I'm raw, unfiltered. I stopped breathing. And then the one that ended it all. Sometimes I wonder if I married the wrong person, and I don't even feel guilty about it anymore. That one was dated 3 months after our wedding. I remember that time. She was quiet a lot, said she was adjusting. I thought I was being patient. I thought I was being supportive. Meanwhile, she was scribbling love confessions to a man who was supposed to help her heal. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I couldn't. Because the worst part wasn't just that she'd betrayed me emotionally. The worst part was realizing I was her safe option. Her plan B. The man she married because he was dependable, not because he made her heart race. And now? Now she'd circled back to the one man who made her feel raw. The same man who once called her his bravest patient. I'd seen that too, in a photo caption on her old Facebook post. One I hadn't thought about until now. I took the letters and made copies. Scanned every one of them into a folder I labeled Exit Plan. Because I knew where this was going. And I wasn't going to be the fool begging to be loved. I also knew Jenna. She was careful, but not perfect. So I started watching. Quietly. Patiently. I played the role of the oblivious husband. I kissed her cheek. I asked about her day. I even pretended to be interested in her new obsession with pottery. And then one evening, when she left her laptop open for a split second to use the bathroom, I took my chance. There it was. A folder hidden inside another folder titled Work Receipts. Inside, screenshots, emails, and one video file I still haven't had the stomach to open. But I will. Because whatever Jenna was hiding, whatever web she thought she could keep spinning behind my back, it's all starting to stick to her now. And I'm done walking through it blindly. I waited until she went to sleep. That kind of deep, thoughtless sleep only someone truly guiltless or expertly deceitful can manage. I stared at the laptop screen for what felt like hours, the cursor hovering over that single video file buried under fake spreadsheets and travel invoices. It was labeled test_final. MOV, which meant nothing. But I knew it was something. No one buries an innocent video under 4 layers of folders named things like Q1 reports and budget. My hand shook as I clicked it. There was no sound at first, just soft lighting. A bedroom I didn't recognize. Neutral-colored walls, cheap modern furniture. Then Jenna entered the frame, setting the phone, or maybe the laptop, down on a dresser. She stepped back, smiling. Not at me. Never at me. Then he walked in. Theo. No hesitation. No awkwardness. His hand slid to the small of her back like he'd done it 1,000 times. She leaned into it, like it was home. And then she said it. Still recording? He glanced at the device. Yeah. Then she laughed. A laugh I hadn't heard in years. High, soft, real. Not the filtered version she gave me when I asked how her day went. And then, God, I watched as she reached for him, kissed him, and said, I've missed this. That line hit harder than anything else. Not the kiss. Not the touches. That line. I've missed this. Because it meant it wasn't new. It was rekindled, which meant our marriage had been a detour. I was the layover. He was the destination. I paused the video. I didn't need to see more. I didn't need proof of what came next. I already knew. And honestly, what shattered me most wasn't the betrayal, it was the ease. How comfortable she looked. How unbothered. Like I never existed. I shut the laptop. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, staring at the wall, wondering how many versions of my wife existed without me ever knowing. At 3:12 a.m., I got up and went to the kitchen. I wrote one sentence on a sticky note and put it on the fridge door. You're better at acting than I ever gave you credit for. Then I packed a bag. Not everything. Just what I needed for a few days. She wouldn't notice until she needed something dumb like her car keys or a charger, both of which I took with me. I know it's petty, but pain makes you weird. Makes you want them to feel it. Even just a little. I left the front door unlocked and got in my car. I didn't have a destination. Just the need to be away from her. But while I drove, something hit me. Hard. If she was willing to record that and save it on her personal laptop, what else was she confident I'd never find? And more importantly, was he filming her too? Because if Jenna was being reckless, then maybe I wasn't the only one being lied to. I spent the next 2 nights sleeping in the back seat of my car behind a 24-hour gym. I told my coworkers I had the flu. No one asked questions, which, honestly, hurt more than I expected. I guess you think people will notice when your life collapses. Turns out, it doesn't make a sound. The thing is, I couldn't stop thinking about that video. Not just the betrayal, but the confidence. The arrogance of saving it like a trophy. Like something to revisit. So I sent the file to Red Hawk, the investigator, and asked him one question. Was she the only one? 3 hours later, he called me. I'd never heard him sound shaken before. You need to see this, he said. I'm emailing a link. Do not forward it. Don't share it. Just watch. It was a local news clip from 4 years ago. Grainy, buried under a pile of unrelated crime reports. The headline was, Therapist under investigation after allegations of inappropriate conduct with grieving clients. There was Theo. Same smug face. Different haircut. Standing outside a courthouse, refusing to answer questions. The story mentioned at least 2 women. One withdrew her statement. The other disappeared from public view entirely. The charges were never filed. Lack of evidence. No cooperation. The case just evaporated. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This wasn't a love story between star-crossed soulmates. This was a pattern. A playbook. Theo found vulnerable women, cracked them open, and made himself their cure. And Jenna? Jenna thought she was special. Chosen. She thought this was fate. It wasn't fate. It was grooming. I dug deeper. I searched every name mentioned in that news piece. And then I found her, one of the original accusers. Not her real name, but the one she used in an online grief support forum that had long since shut down. Except archived threads still existed. And buried in one of them was a comment she'd left under an anonymous post about falling for your therapist. Her words felt like Jenna's voice in a parallel life. He made me feel seen. He said he didn't care about the rules, that I was worth breaking them for. I believed him until I saw he was saying the same thing to someone else. He mirrored me. That's all it was. A performance. My hands went numb. I found her real name 3 hours later, hidden in a reply someone accidentally posted using her full Facebook profile. So I messaged her. I didn't expect a response. But 2 hours later, she replied, If he's seeing your wife, I'll talk. We set up a call. I used a burner account. I couldn't stop shaking. Her name was Lila. She was calm, but the kind of calm that only comes after your world's already burned down. She told me Theo had been charming, calculated, and knew exactly how to make her feel like no one else mattered. Until he got bored. Until someone shinier came along. When I told her my wife's name, she didn't flinch. But then she said something that made my stomach flip. He keeps everything. I mean everything. Messages, photos, even recordings. He told me once that memories disappear unless you archive them. He's obsessed with documenting. I remembered the way Jenna looked into the camera. How unbothered she seemed. Lila continued. If he's keeping records, he's not doing it just for himself. He collects people. Their secrets. Their shame. Then he uses it. I ended the call with my heart pounding. This wasn't just a betrayal. This wasn't just cheating. This was a trap. A manipulation. And suddenly, I knew something else. If Theo had footage, he might not be the only one watching it. I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. I just sat in that cheap motel room, lights off, staring at the glow of my laptop screen like it was some cursed artifact. Lila had sent me more after our call, screenshots, emails, an old video of Theo speaking at a mental health conference where he talked about empathic vulnerability, like it was a tool, not a principle. Everything about him felt curated, scripted, and I started to realize this man didn't just seduce women. He studied them. He built them into versions of themselves that needed him, like emotional architecture. But it got worse, because later that night, another message came in, from someone I didn't recognize. No profile picture, no name, just a single sentence. I know who you are. I was married to one of them too. I didn't respond at first. It felt like bait. But the next message came 5 minutes later. Check the username. TheoA47. That's the handle he used. It's still active. Private blog. Password protected, but the content is saved if you know where to look. My chest felt like it caved in. I asked one question. How many are there? The reply was instant. At least 5. Maybe more. Women. All emotionally compromised. He moves from one to the next, never overlapping too much, but always leaves wreckage behind. I asked to talk. He agreed. His name was Mason. Said he used to be married to a woman named Elise. She met Theo at a trauma recovery workshop after losing her sister. Same pattern. Vulnerable, lonely, desperate for someone who understood. Theo swooped in. Subtle. Charming. No one suspected anything. Until Mason found a hidden journal Elise kept under the floorboard. Pages full of praise for a man she called T. Same handwriting style. Same emotional tone. Same spiral. Elise left Mason 2 months later. For space. She moved 3 towns over. Blocked him on everything. Mason said he didn't even try to win her back. He just wanted to understand what had happened. He'd spent 2 years quietly tracking Theo's movements. That's how he found me. And that's when he dropped the real bomb. Theo didn't just keep trophies. He posted them. He had a private blog, buried in an old journaling platform, locked behind layers of false identities. But Mason had access. Said he'd spent months cracking it, cataloging everything. Photos, notes, confessions. Not just about the women, about the men too. About people like me. Mason sent me a link. I opened it with my hands trembling. There was a post, dated over a year ago. Title, The Fragile Husband. It was about me. Not by name, but there was no mistaking it. It described our home, our weekend routines, the way I cried once during a movie, and how Jay found it both pathetic and oddly charming. I read that line 3 times. He was documenting our marriage. From the inside. Through her. Through what she told him. Our private life, my pain, had become someone else's bedtime reading. And the final line of the post? The husband won't see it coming. They never do. I sat back in the chair, dizzy. Because he was right. I hadn't seen it. I still didn't understand the full scale. But I knew now this wasn't just betrayal. This was exploitation. And the woman I loved had handed him the keys. I never imagined I'd be the kind of man who planned to take down. But after everything I'd read, after watching my private life dissected like a case study, I couldn't just sit in that motel room like a kicked dog anymore. Jenna had made her choice. She handed over my heart to a man who turned it into content. And now? Now I was going to make sure she lived in the truth, not the fantasy. I didn't scream. I didn't storm in and expose everything. That's what Theo would have expected. That's what Jenna was probably bracing for. But I wasn't giving them the satisfaction of a meltdown. No, I was going to make them doubt everything. Quietly. Strategically. Step 1, I went home. Not to talk. Not to argue. Just to act normal. I brought flowers. I smiled. I told her I missed her. She blinked twice like she didn't understand what game I was playing. But she softened. That's what she does when she thinks she's won. I watched her for 3 days. Studied her. Noted every moment she texted a little too quickly and locked her screen a little too fast. And during those days, I made subtle changes. Logged into our shared Amazon account and ordered a set of USB mics. Wired one under the table, one in the bedroom lamp, one in her car when she left it unlocked. It didn't take long. By day 5, I had everything. Conversations with Theo. Her laugh, that laugh, when she said I still thought she was going to her yoga class. I even caught her practicing what she'd say if I ever found out. It wasn't shock or guilt in her voice. It was preparation. She was rehearsing for my heartbreak. So I rewrote the script. I waited until Sunday, our fake date night. She wore that green dress she only brings out when she wants something, and I played the part. Smiled, laughed, paid for dinner like everything was fine. When we got home, I handed her a small gift box. She looked confused. "What's this for?" she asked. I shrugged. "Just something I found that made me think of you." Inside the box was a flash drive. Black. Unmarked. She didn't plug it in that night. But she would. Eventually. Because curiosity always wins. Especially with her. And when she did, she'd hear herself. Her lies. Her planning. Her confessions. All of it. But that wasn't the real bomb. Because while she was busy reeling, I was already meeting with someone else. Not a lawyer. Not a therapist. A journalist. Mason had the files. The blog. The testimonies from the other women. We packaged it. Structured it. And I handed it to a reporter who had already published 2 exposés on misconduct in professional counseling. They didn't care that Theo wasn't licensed anymore. They cared that he had a trail. A digital shrine of broken people. A blog that crossed ethical lines 1,000 times over. And that someone finally had the guts to burn it all down. The story was set to run on Monday morning. Jenna wouldn't just lose a lover. She'd lose the illusion. And Theo? He'd finally be forced into the spotlight he used to control. I didn't want her back. I didn't want closure. I just wanted the truth to outlive the lies. And it would. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. Because just before midnight, she texted me 3 words I hadn't seen in years. "We need to talk." I didn't answer her text. Not at first. I let her wait. I let her sit in the quiet, wondering which version of me she'd be facing. The man who cried over oatmeal, or the one who left a flash drive full of truth on her nightstand. By the time I walked through the door, she was pacing. No music, no candlelit manipulation, just silence and a flickering kitchen light that made the whole scene feel like a confession booth. "I didn't watch it," she said quickly. "I mean, I saw it. But I didn't." I cut her off. "You lied. Over and over. You let him turn our life into content. You let him study me." Her eyes welled up. "It wasn't like that." I almost laughed. "It was exactly like that." She sat down at the table. The same table where I had installed the mic. The same table where she planned her excuses. "I thought you were boring," she finally whispered. "Safe. Predictable." I was angry at myself. And instead of dealing with it, I let him. She stopped. Couldn't finish. "I didn't need her to." "I know why you did it," I said. "And I forgive you." Her head snapped up like I'd slapped her. "You forgive me?" "Not for you. For me." That was the moment I felt something loosen in my chest. A knot I'd been carrying for years. I realized I didn't need her apology. I didn't need revenge. Because I'd already won. The article dropped the next morning. The Empathy Predator. How one man built a career out of grief, manipulation, and silence. It went viral within 24 hours. Multiple women came forward, more than even Mason expected. Theo went dark. Deleted everything. His name spread across every mental health watchdog site. Whatever career he thought he had left, gone. And Jenna? She didn't show up to work for 2 weeks. Her friends stopped replying. Her parents, who once adored me, reached out with a short message. "We're sorry. We didn't know." But I wasn't gloating. I didn't dance on the ashes. I was already moving forward. I got a new apartment. Smaller. Quieter. With plants I actually take care of. I adopted a dog. His name is Waffles. And I started going back to the gym, not because I wanted revenge muscle, but because I finally had the energy to care about myself again. Last week, I went on my first date in a long time. Her name's Darla. She laughs with her whole face. No secrets behind her eyes. When I told her I cry at movies, she said, "Good. So do I. We'll bring tissues." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I was just Everett. Not boring. Not backup. Just a man who survived heartbreak and didn't let it make him bitter. I walked away from that old life. And I didn't just walk into a new one. I ran.